Welcome to Grease Monkeys Debunked, where Danny Secondme and I shatter the myths surrounding car mechanics. I'm your co-host, Ben Johnson, and alongside Danny, we're here to debunk the ludicrous tales of all the oily, greasy, page-3 mechanics out there that may still exist, but certainly don't exist as much as they did a few years ago. Spoiler alert, the real truth is a bit more intriguing than that. In this realm of greasy misconceptions, we're not just fault finders, we're mythbusters. Because our mission is to reveal the intelligence, the resourcefulness, the thinking outside the box mentality that defines us. The true mechanics, and not the stereotypes propagated by all the stories that you hear in the press. So, fasten your seatbelts as we delve into the riveting world of the automotive industry, separating all the facts from fiction. We're not just skilled at finding faults in engines. We're also adept at pinpointing the flaws in the narratives that cast us as mere oil-stained, spanner-wielding savages with hairy backs. Join us on this journey of enlightenment for the Grease Monkeys Debunked. Show will dismantle all the misconceptions one nut, one bolt, one washer at a time. Time to embrace the real truth. We're smart, we're resourceful, we're ready to navigate the twists and turns of the automotive world, and we'll do it with wit, wisdom, and a touch of northern charm. Danny, don't be nervous, it's our first podcast. We're not professionals. Right then, finally we've managed to start recording the old Grease Monkeys episode 1, which I'm happy about. I've been badgering you for how long? Every couple of days for about God knows how many weeks. So
We'd spoken about it for a while.
We'd spoken about it, definitely. So I could probably go first a bit. It's basically what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to show everyone that we're not like greasy scum of the earth, stereotypical, uneducated, brain-dead morons. And most of us are pretty switched on, aren't we? I know you are. I have my moments.
I get them too, that's for sure. Yeah.
But no, seriously, we need to change it because I was looking the other day at the UK, they're paying £7.50 an hour for apprentices. And it's not really conducive to get you into the job when they're paying hairdresser apprentices £11 an hour. I find it incredible.
I wasn't, number one, I wasn't aware of the hourly rates of apprentices in our industry, and neither hairdressers either. So it's
doing good, aren't they? £11 an hour. It's not bad, that is it? 11 quid. I should have been an hairdresser, me, to be fair. All these years of busting my knuckles. I could have been in a cushy salon. Mind you, they get arthritis, them lot, don't they, of the fingers. I've just come home. I've only been home about an hour. It's minus 18 last night. I've had a nice one today. It's only been minus 10 today, so we're not doing so bad today, really, to be fair. We can't complain at the old minus 10. Obviously in the UK, the weather's probably not much better, I guess.
Well, there's, the news making a big thing at the moment with weather warnings, but nothing quite as close to minus 18, that's for sure.
Well, everyone's still got the old summer tyres there. I remember that. As a mechanic, we never had to do tyre changes for winter season like in Finland. It just goes absolutely mental. 2 months of hell. People coming in, I need my winter tyres doing urgently. And then you have these massive sudden snow flurries that no one expects. And then it's a big disaster. Suddenly you've got like 50 cars a day and you've got to fit them in, plus your diagnostics on top. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit, Danny. I'm twittering as usual, obviously. Do plenty of that. I'll just start very quickly with a bit of a background with me, and then you can just say a little bit about yourself, if that's all right, so everyone knows who we are and what we're about.
Sounds good to me.
Great. So I've been doing this since about 95. I can't remember, to be honest, it's that long ago. It was either 95 or 96, one or the other. Either way, it was the mid-90s, and I started as an apprentice on Rover. I think I got sacked from that job about 2 years later. We'll not go into that. Anyway, I wasn't so good at diagnostics, and around 2004 I started getting a bit annoyed, like, I need to learn how to do this. It's a bit annoying. I was mainly a mechanical guy. So I just started to learn, made a few daft mistakes, like thinking that when I had 12 volts on the ground, it had a short to power, but never set on fire, funnily enough, probably because it was just an open circuit. And we all know that we see 12 volts on open circuits. So I didn't know anything. Didn't know my arse from my elbow, really. But 2004, I really started cracking on. By 2006, I was well away into it, and now we're on 2024 almost next year. I've been doing it ever since. And I moved to Finland 11 years ago in January. Much better salary, and the weather's not so good, but never mind. I've learned a lot, learned a hell of a lot, thought I knew everything. Got slapped back down to earth by a couple of clever blokes at the first place that worked at, which is a specialist company for fault finding. And they taught me a lot. So here I am, BMW now, a couple of years, since I think 2015 I started in BMW dealer. And I'm slogging away on this German stuff ever since, giving me an headache every minute of the day. It's me. How about you?
I started a little later than you did. I got into the game in about 2011. It was only ever supposed to be doing bits and pieces on my own vehicle. But my dad had taught me electronics as a child, so he was a television engineer. So I started looking at how the systems on cars worked. And I thought, this is not too entirely different, to be honest. So I had a full-time job, completely separate to the motor industry. But at the same time, I was working part-time for myself in the evenings and weekends, acquiring tools and circuit testers and what have you.
Awesome.
And then eventually, just like you, I was trying to grasp the concept of understanding the harnesses and voltages running through them, trying to get my head around why you're seeing certain voltages and wires and what would happen if you used your power probe over here and something over there. I think the hardest thing that took me a while to understand was understanding voltages work.
Yeah, me too.
It seemed over time, it you got used to it. And I went to college in 2015, learned a lot about the systems, and got a better understanding of them there. Yeah. Fast forward, I had a full-time job as an auto electrician in 2018, and then stopped there, worked somewhere else, which was unrelated to the motor industry, but was still working for myself after hours. And then the lockdown happened and lost my job. And then that's when I went to full steam with my business.
Okay.
So I do that.
Yeah. Well, you've not been in it very long, but to think, seeing some of your posts when we first met on LinkedIn, no, seriously, you first came to my attention about 2 years ago maybe, and I noticed that you were doing a lot of good stuff, and I thought, this guy's a bit like me. He's similar, like, this geeky approach. Someone called me a geek once. I don't think I am, but I do like a good write-up. I've got the old PMM articles, got the newsletter, and I do like a good write-up, and I thought, this guy's awesome, And that's when meeting you, and I thought, it's good to get like-minded people together kind of thing, which is why I'm doing this podcast too. But we really need to look at educating people, Danny, don't we? Like these customers who think we're, a bit subhuman kind of thing. Some of them.
Yeah. The hardest thing is trying to get them to understand the difficulties of the industry. There's, I suppose that the better word to describe it is, are still in transition of moving from the Stone Age.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't realize how much has changed over the years and how much more advanced technology is.
And how fast it's changed. I mean, think about this, right, Danny? I started on these Rovers. Let's be honest. At one point, they were a pretty good brand. They didn't, it was some time before they degenerated into the garbage that they were kind of thing. But I remember starting on Rovers with single point fuel injection. Within about 12 months, they were on multi-point. No, BMW for years were on multi-point, but for us on these Rovers, it was an amazing thing. So things do change fast. For example, they're on about 48 volt systems are coming out now. We need to be aware of them because they're quite dangerous. I mean, 48 volts can still do you some serious injury or even death if there's enough current going through. So yeah, it can, and things are changing. But one thing about customers, what I hate the most, I really hate this. It's unscripted this. So I love this unscripted business. This is the best way. Yeah, I had one today. Oh, no, there's a fault code. I've read it on my reader. I got it from the shop, £50. Okay, that sounds like a really good one. That does, mate. And yes, it's the timing, the camshaft and the crankshaft correlation. I said, yes. It's Do I need a timing chain? My friend Bob said I need a timing chain. Well, Not really. It's probably just a Vanos solenoid. So swap the Vanos solenoid and the fault goes away. But sometimes you get it in the other way around where you do them a favour, these customers, and you fix something and then they come back three months later, or no, even better, they come back 9 months later, say, oh, that thing you fixed, I want a guarantee on it. There's a warranty on this job. You fixed it and now it doesn't work. Well, it was half burned, mate. You know, it was like a bit of a rush job and there was no warranty with it. And that's what it is. You do them a favour and then they come bite you in the ass later. They're not your friend anymore when you suddenly want honour some dodgy repair. You do your best, don't you? But they just don't get it. They all want to save money, and I don't do them any favours anymore. I really don't. They just don't understand that. This is why this podcast, I hope it's going to reach a lot of people who don't just fix cars, people who take the cars to be fixed, because the way they are, they just think like we're just like people like them mechanics off the In-Betweeners episode that time when they sent that posh lad to the garage wheel. Did you ever see that episode?
When they threw him into the...
Yeah, Wolfie, that big lad, Wolfie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Why? Wolfie, I don't really want to work in a garage. I want to go to the local newspaper. And then they sent that thick lad to the newspaper, do you remember?
Neil, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really good episode.
It was the best, wasn't it? Yeah.
Season 2, episode 2.
It was brilliant. Oh, you love it like me. I love the In-Betweeners. But that was proper, typical, stereotypical garage. They were like rough, but they were proper super switched on, weren't they? They were really smart lads. Yeah. I said, how old are you, Wolfie? I'm 18 or something like that. He looks about 35 with beard and everything. I said, Danny, that's the stereotype. That's what everyone thinks we are. But it ain't that anymore. It hasn't been that for 15 years, in my opinion. It's changed. And this is what I want to talk about, you know. I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn, all this stuff, the IMI and all these people. I'm not going to name any names, but they're all people are trying to encourage this positivity. How are we going to attract young people? And they think with just a few words that you're going to attract the right candidates. Look, the only way you're going to get people in this job is if you start paying more. And I would say changing the criteria. Like, you know, how many times I've been looking at jobs in the UK just out of interest. I'm not going back to UK. I'm happy in Finland, but they constantly ask for an MVQ level 3. What is an MVQ level 3? What's the point of it? You might as well, there's no point to it. It's a piece of paper. Anyone can get it. When I was young, it was City and Guilds, and you had to actually do proper studying. I'm not trying to denigrate MVQ by any stretch of the imagination. I've got MVQ as well. But I can tell you something. In the 90s, City and Guilds, you had to learn everything. 2-stroke supercharging for scavenge blowers in Detroit diesels. We're never going to see one in our life, but we still had to learn it and do tests on it. And I think they need to make it more like America with the ASE. They need to be tougher, get the right people who've been to college first and stuff like that, and pay them £15 an hour as a starting salary. You'll get the right people then. Not to say we've got the wrong people now. I see too many and I hear too many stories. We get like young people, they leave school, what used to be called YT, youth training. Remember YT, £20 a week. Oh, go and be a mechanic. You know, that's all you're good for. We've got to work hard, really, because we need to change the perceptions and get the right people. Like, I'd love to see university graduates, me. People come in and do fault finding and become engineers and earn a good 5,000-6,000 a month or something. But not got a union in the UK, not got any protection, not got any collective bargaining. So, again, that's why I left the UK, because they basically dictate the salaries. Nothing you can do about it. You can't be in a union. Just have to put up or shut up.
I also think that need to change the curriculum a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
Establishments. No, there's no institute particularly that's worse than the other, but
yeah,
they don't seem to grasp the new technology in cars now, and you're required to go on day release, you know, just
from young offenders. I'm joking.
Do 3 or 4 days in college, and then you spend a day it's a garage, but you're only going to develop if the garage that you're working at is willing to take on the type of involved work that you and I do, and also the other people do on LinkedIn. To name a few, Daniele, the automotive expert, they don't teach any of the things that he performs at his garage. And those are the type of things that we all need to be aware of now.
Yeah, we do. I mean, when I was at college, it was the best time of my life. Looking back, it was horrible. I never liked it one bit, but I mean, when I started, we didn't even have any ramps. We were working on the floor. First day in college, I'll tell you a funny story. It's not a story of the week's coming up in a bit, but I'll tell you this quick one. First day I was there, looking around, everyone's picking their nose, look like young offenders have been on, like I said, day release from young offenders. And I nudged me, mate. I said, what the bloody hell have we got ourselves into here at all with these lot? Like, I thought it was going to be like stimulating people and all that business. How wrong was I? Put me with these two lads. He said, right, I can't say his name, I can't mention names, but the senior lecturer, basically they're all just a bunch of old mechanics, retired. Right, you get under that Montego, jack it up now, lad, put it on faxel stands and put gearbox out. That was it. First day on job, pull the gearbox out. That was my first day on job, literally. But we learned stuff. We didn't learn much about electrics then, but it was all mechanical stuff. But I get what you mean, like Daniele and people like that, EEPROM and all that, EEPROM recoding and all that business. All they're learning now is like, well, what are they learning? How to take an oil filter off and maybe, how to do a service and how to how to, check a cylinder head distortion with a flat rule. Yeah, it's all useful, but I don't know. They need to be learning a lot more, these youngsters, don't they? Really, if it get them ready for the world,
My business is just auto electronics solely, so there's enough to know and to be able to utilize it as a solo entity in a job description. The only thing that I noticed when I do outcalls to garages is they'll be asked to look at something like you were talking about, a cab crank correlation.
Yeah.
At the same time, they've got to also weld and exhaust. I would never be able to concentrate and focus on the two.
Yeah, exactly.
At the same time.
I know. How can you?
So I do think it needs to be appreciated a bit more. Not saying that it's complex once you get your head around it, but it's certainly different to the mechanical tasks that you're.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a nightmare, really. I don't know where we're going with it. It's same in Finland. I've got a couple of good young lads who are working with me. It started off not great, but now they're all pretty good in my opinion. But I remember back in the day, I had a lot of abuse, back in the 90s. You couldn't tell tales on people, the supervisors picking on me. They'd lock you in a cupboard, or they'd probably, do God knows what, stick
you in through a pot.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. You send people up on ramps years ago. They used to stick up, and never did it to me. They did it to one lad I worked with. They stuck up a broom. They took up head off a broom, stuck it through his overalls, his boiler suits, all boiler suits in them days. And they sent him up on ramp. They left him 3 hours there because all weight of the body is taken by the stick, so it's not tiring. It's just a bit weird, like crucifixion style, You'd be in prison for that now. You'd get 12 months for that, wouldn't you?
You have
torture. Yeah. It's like classed as it is. You would. You'd be in prison for that now. You'd do 12 months, lose your job and everything. Back then, it was a rite of passage, wasn't it? Touch this spark plug and, all this business. So, it's a nightmare. They sent one lad up on a ramp once with this. They said, here, put your finger through this engine lifting eye. He was a bit of a daft lad, a bit something wrong with him, I think. And he put his finger through and it swelled up immediately. Well, couldn't get it out. And they sent him up, nearly ripped his finger off. He had to jump on with his... He had side saddle bonnet as they sent him up, otherwise it would have ripped his finger off. Nutters. Absolute nutters there. But I loved it.
Had you ever fallen victim to something like...
No, I think they how can I say it without being crude? One lad once got Swarfiga on his hand and put it down my pants, let's say, and greased the nether regions. I mean, nowadays, like if you'd be bent over a car in 90s, they'd always come behind you and simulate some like weird sex act or something, But back then, you could never do that in Finland. They'd probably punch you. But in England, it's like, it's normal, isn't it, all this weird stuff? But I've not lived there for that long, but I remember it fondly. No, I don't know. We have to take some good things away from the 90s. It was good. Best time of my life. I loved it, Labour Party were in 97. Tony Blair won. They were spending loads of money. Everything was right with the world. And it was best time. And I learned a lot. But no, I never liked working at UK, really, to be honest, because I got shafted so many times. There's no protection as such. The law's not good. You have to be 2 years in a job now in Britain, before you even got any real job security. Whereas in Finland, it's opposite. After 3 months, now I think it's 6 months, but it used to be 3 months. After that, unless you shoot somebody, they can't get rid of you, really. You can turn up late and everything. It's very hard to get rid of people. And like I said, like we were talking about the salaries, Danny, $750 for a mechanic or $650, whatever it is, an apprentice in Britain. Lads in Finland, I know what they earn because we get a union handbook and every year it changes. And it shows the minimum salary bands. It's 1 to 6. I'm obviously band 6 because I'm experienced. Band 1, I think the lowest salary in Finland you can pay a band 1. That's literally someone who's come out of school, 16-year-old. They're doing like 1 day in college and 4 days in thingy, like in England, in workplace. Minimum you can pay them, I think, is about $13.80 an hour. That's, let's say, what, £13 an hour for someone who don't know anything. And then
It's more than an apprentice hairdresser.
It's way more than an apprentice hairdresser, isn't it? But you see what I mean? But yeah, we get young lads who are a bit daft, but we get lads who come into it because they want to learn. And really, it's not a bad screw, that £13 an hour straight out of school. I mean, it's not bad at all. You get a bit of help towards your rent and that. You've got a good life. Okay, it's -18 outside. The weather's not great. But other than that, it's quite champion here, really. No, I miss Britain. I miss it immensely. I miss the people. And as you notice, LinkedIn newsletter, everything I'm doing, my YouTube, most of the audience are English people or British people, purely and simply because I've never shook that out of my system. It's just so much easier to deal with people from your own country. You know, I speak Finnish, but I can't speak it the way I'm speaking now to you in English. So, yeah, good place here, but I don't know. Would I go back? If they paid me a fortune, I might go back, but I don't know. Too busy. Too much traffic.
There's a lot of traffic. I don't think I would have to be really down on my luck, I think. And I don't mean this disrespectfully to people listening who are in the situation. I don't think I would be comfortable working for a company in the UK as a tech.
Yeah.
I think it's very undervalued for the skill, knowledge that the guys, my next door neighbor was an ex-Toyota Master Tech. Interestingly, he worked at Rover as well. He's old school and his knowledge is incredible. I mean, I could talk to him, what you were saying about geeky earlier on and things. We can be on the front doorstep talking to each other for 2 hours about a CAN system.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's great when you meet like-minded people, and you meet people and there's still young lads who I work with. I can tell you, none of them know how it works. None of them. Like one lad has a slight idea, but none of them have a clue how it works. But that's another thing. They're not willing to stay after work and let me teach it them. They're not willing. And it's not easy.
No, I think for me especially was many nights of not going to sleep, learning about cars.
Yeah.
I'd be up very late, trying to understand the different communication networks, and I really don't think that it's something you can just get overexposure to it. And somebody like yourself who knows about it and can guide somebody in the right direction really helps. And that's what I think our industry needs. People who apprentices can look up to and actually feel more comfortable with the concept that a lot of people are scared of getting involved with.
Yeah, you've got to make it fun, aren't you, really? If it's not fun, it's boring usually. I'm like that. If things aren't fun for me, I get bored. I must admit, I'm getting old now. I'm 46 now. I'm not that old, but, let's be honest. In 20 years, I'll be out of this business if I'm not dead, obviously, in the meantime. Hopefully not. But I don't know. These young lads now, they just come to work to earn the money and they go home and that's it. That's the way I see it. They're not interested in learning. They think they are, but they're not, because if they were, they would be able to do more and more. But every week they're going back to the same thing, asking the same old questions. But instead of just saying, you know what, let's stay behind a couple of nights for a few weeks and let's actually learn something. So that's what I'm trying to do with Allmec. I want to basically, probably me and you, as we've already discussed, it would be nice one day if we can get something out of this that we can give back to people. We set a website up and maybe do some online tutorials, online courses, tech support, anything like that, really. Because all the big companies are doing it, aren't they? Let's be honest. Look at Opus. They're doing it. They're providing tech support with Master Techs,
And they're pretty good, to be honest.
They are. They are good, yeah, for sure.
I mean, they've got some really sharp people.
Oh, definitely.
If you're willing to listen, pay attention.
Yeah, but you shouldn't, like I said, my last... Go on, sorry, Dan, what were you saying?
No, just especially if you are struggling with a particular thought.
Yeah.
It's good that they can split it into departments. So,
It's very good. I saw one the other day. I was reading one the other day on LinkedIn. Was it Cockburn Auto Services, was it?
I'm not sure whether to pronounce it as Cockburn or Cockburn.
I thought it was Cockburn, to be honest. It sounded like Cockburn to me.
Just reminded me of the port brand, Coburns, which is spelled the same, but it may not.
So it might be Coburn, not Cockburn.
It could be Coburn.
We need to find out if Cockburns is listening to this. Can you please let us know? And let us know if it's Coburn or Cockburn. Anyway, whatever. Cockburn Auto Services. I like the name of it. Let's call it Cockburn. They had a problem and Opus 4 solved it. And it's good. It's brilliant. But I couldn't help but think, looking at the fault what they had, which was a Ford with some comfort access problems. If they had a scan tool, I don't understand why you need contact tech support. To me, that means you've got a problem with your training and your development, because even if I'm not familiar with a Ford, there's enough information, even though it's a little bit hidden, you can still find information. And if you've got live data, come on. If it's got a battery drain, not rocket science, is it? You know, you can obviously see, usually, you might not see anything on live data. Sometimes it handles Twitter. Sometimes they don't work. Sometimes they don't do anything. Sometimes they work completely normal. However, it's still only a battery drain. Surely you can narrow that down to central locking system. You can see quiescent current draw and stuff like that from the fuses. You can measure millivolts with a fluke meter and convert it to milliamps after using a millivolt milliamp chart. And this is what I was saying in the last newsletter article, that really, it's great, these companies, but you shouldn't use them as a crutch. You should use them when you can't solve it. I always use tech support, very rarely, by the way, only when I couldn't fix it, or for warranty purposes where I had no choice. I had to do a certain report, or I had to get pre-authorization or whatever. But yeah, many a times they were asking me for that when I was a Nissan Master Tech back in the UK in the 2000s, because it's one of them, isn't it? What's it doing? What's it not doing? What's it doing that it should be doing? What's it not doing that it should be doing? It's simple. What's it doing that it shouldn't be doing? People don't ask them questions nowadays. They just go into it, tear it apart. Half an hour later, they sit there and go, Jesus, where am I? I'm lost where I am. I don't know what I've checked. Forgot what wires I've checked. Oh, let's ring Autologic up and give them a bell. Shouldn't do that. You should ring them and say, listen, Opus, sorry about that. Got a problem. I can't fix it. Check this, check that, check this. Oh, well done. Have you thought of this? Oh, no. Okay, done, fix. That's how I'd use it. I wouldn't ring up and just ask constantly, you know. Whether they did, I don't know. But I know people who do that. I know companies who have done that. They just ask constantly. Don't learn anything from it.
Yeah, I tend to use them as a last resort, especially if I've not worked on a car before. There are instances where I've been in a bit of a rush and I've not checked things the way that I should. People know that I've done that before. Then you call upon them for a bit of assistance just to help speed things up. But I think auto-scan is a must-have in a situation like that.
Definitely.
It depends on the experience. If you have, for example, an airbag issue on Mercedes, you could go to the restraint system, not bother with an auto-scan immediately. But something like a battery drain, that kind of criteria would definitely benefit from an auto-scan. And like you said, you may get a step closer to what you're looking for just by performing that one check at the very
beginning. It's always good to have a backup, but like I said, I never use it as a crutch. Anyway, talking of that, story of the week time now, which you'll be happy about. No, I thought of this concept.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Well, you know me, I've got a million stories. I've been doing this job 30 years. No, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about customer service this week. I'll tell you a little story going back to the 2000s at one dealership. I can't really name it. These people do exist, and, I don't want to get sued. Anyway, we had a lot of managers because it was one of them companies where they would last 6 weeks and they'd fire them or they'd walk out because it was just terrible. Like typical English, maindealerville.com, they treat people like dirt, don't they? So when the doors revolved, in walks in this big Scottish guy with a scar across his face and a bald head like Kojak. Proper hard-looking bloke he was. Exactly. And like the writing was on the... No, for me, the first day he started, I thought, this guy means business, Day after, I comes in his office, he says, Johnson, come into my office, will you? I want a word with you. I said, hello, yeah, all right. And I said, who's that on the wall? It's my wife. Do you like her? I said, well, I'd rather not comment. Don't be soft with me, pal. Anyway, he had a picture on his wall of his wife in suspenders and bra and a Christmas Santa hat. So that I thought, oh yeah, this guy's a bit mental. Like, picture of his wife half naked up well. Anyway, been there a couple of months and he wanted me in office, I said the first day. He said, you do for your master tech, aren't you, with Nissan? I said, yeah, I am, yeah. I'm not bothered if he listens. He's a cracking bloke. Anyway, this guy, when I got the master tech, he encouraged me to go for a pay rise. He said, listen, go and ask the general manager for pay rise, $27,000 a year, and you'll get it. And this is a true story, and people who listen to it, who know where I am and know where I've worked, there's nothing bad about it. It's a humorous story and it's a sad story. The sad part of it is, which is really sad, is that the general manager, who was a cracking bloke, I'll not name him, he died, unfortunately, and he was only in his 40s. He had a heart attack. And the thing is, and I'm not bothered about this because I'd rather the guy didn't die, but that was the stress of the job, I think, killed him. He signed the thing. He signed it, but then no one could. He died, but no one could find it after that. He signed the authorization, so I never got my pay rise, which I'm not bothered about because it's a shame the guy died. So that was the one thing that this other manager, this Scottish guy, I really respect him for wanting to do that for me. I respected him. I thought he was great, but the other lads were scared of him, But he was very obnoxious as a manager. He was a bit obnoxious, like he would eat in front of the customers and stuff like that. Sometimes it'd slop down his top. I remember once a customer came and she weren't happy for something, and this is just a classic example of sometimes customer service might be a bit. You have to be really careful with it, but I also like it when people don't take any crap from customers. She came in, this woman, about 60, with a dog. And she went, oh, yes, I'd like to make a complaint, please. I'd like to see the manager. Be quick about it. Proper posh woman. And they went, oh, are you sure you want to speak to the manager? Yes. Why? Well, he's a bit busy and he doesn't like being disturbed. Anyway, she wouldn't have none of it. So I heard a commotion in the office about 2 minutes after it. What does she want? For God's sake, I'm busy. Dead loud. Everyone could hear it. Proper embarrassing. She was like looking at, oh, really? Oh, my God. Anyway, come out, eating a pie, slopping it all down his shirt. What's going on, madam? I'm busy. What do you want? And she was like, well, I've got a problem with my car. You've overcharged me for this. No, I've not. I'm not overcharged you anything. Screen wash you have to pay for screen wash. It's not free, Screen wash ain't free, madam. But it's £5. It's £5. It's not a lot, is it? Screen wash is not free, right? Anyway, that was it. And then she come back about an hour later with her husband, and he was a big bloke. Posh, but a big bloke kicking off. Come back out again. He's having none of it, this manager then. He's like, hey, listen, you two are bad. You don't come back here. You're no longer customers of this establishment. Get out. They were like almost fighting like these two, And it came to me the other day, I thought, you know what, why don't we have managers like that nowadays who stand up for mechanics? He always used to stand up for mechanics, this bloke. Because, in England, used to have a lot of situations where they'd loosen the wheel bolts. My customers, after a service, every now and then, they'd come back and say, you've left my wheel loose, I want a free service. They'd go around the corner and loosen up wheel bolts. Honestly, it happened about 3 times. I think they were all the same family, surely to God. And every time he would hear that manager, he always stuck up for every one of us. He always purposely made sure that he was on our side. And, they would never, ever get anything free. And then after that, they got all the managers who would just cave in little, oh, well, no problem. 7 years free servicing and free MOT next year, free car wash for 7 years, and all that business. And I just thought, it's gone, that era now. He was one at last of the old generation. He's probably about 60 now. But yeah, that was one of the fonder memories of that place, because before that, they were all flakes. And then, the first manager, I never met him. They hired me, and the guy quit before I even started the job. Hired me. I never met him, spoke on the phone. He went off with long-term stress. I never saw the guy. He quit after 6 months of me being there, but I'd never saw him. And then we had this couple of other flakes, and they had this cool guy, and then they got rid of him because he was a bit too abrupt with customers. Couldn't make it up, really, could you, to be fair? So there you are. Old school managers and old school customer service. Nowadays, customers can get anything they want, can't they?
Well, I do think that they need to put in their place sometimes.
They do. That guy did put them in a place, I'll tell you. I miss him.
Not
cracking bloke.
But,
yeah.
Especially if they're questioning something you've done, which you know about that they don't. Perhaps they just need to be kindly reminded of why they're there.
They do. I'll tell you, leading on to another one, probably only one story a week, but I might as well lead on to another. Just it's the same place. Some time after that, don't know who the manager was then, but we had this guy come in with a little Nissan, sporty one, and it was leaking fuel everywhere. But he never told me that. I went on road test. It could have caused it could have killed me basically if it had gone up. And he accused me of stealing his Nissan badge. Now I had like 5 million Nissan badges because we did body work. It's a body shop as well. So I had hundreds of Nissan badges. Why would I steal your Nissan badge on your 25-year-old rusty? It was like it was so rusty, this guy, you can't imagine. But listen, this is a serious story, and it's really something that really happened. You can read about it in paper. Basically, when I saw the fuel leak, I said, listen, mate, this is leaking all over your exhaust. This car is a death trap. It's going to blow up, this car, I'm telling you. True story, this. Several weeks later, some friend who worked there, well, I won't say a friend, but he had a mate who opened a garage around the corner from us, a little garage. Some time after that, it set on fire at garage, blew up. And it was this Nissan. It was this car had gone to that garage, not told him about the exhaust. It was idling on the four-poster ramp. And it blew up. It blew petrol tank up. It set it on fire. The car just set on fire. And then it caught the tank and it blew it up. And it literally burned the garage to nothing. Brand new, well, old building, but brand new equipment. And when we went back a couple of days after, the whole roof had gone in and this bloody car was still on it was on its side. It had blown up and it had launched into air and it landed sideways on four-poster. And it was this guy. It was this guy's car. And that's another example of like customers, they don't listen. And like this car, really, how it got through an MOT, well, you know, we have these dodgy places probably still in England, like when I would, you know, well, not now, probably, but in the day, you could, you know, give a bribe, couldn't you? You know, just pass it, mate. Here's 100 quid, you know what I mean? All right, mate. All right, bit of welding, coach. You did a bit of welding on that, lad. All right. Don't let it happen again. Next time I see it, I want a bit of welding on that, lad. All right. But nowadays, it's probably more strict. But yeah, back then, I had that car in 2000s, mate. Guy didn't listen, blew up, destroyed someone's business. It's insane, that, isn't it?
What car was it?
180 SX with a CA18 engine and it turbo. Proper, it was quite fast, but it was a wreck. It was like there was holes in it and everything. Chassis had holes in it. It was a rat box.
A bit charged as well.
Yeah, but I took it up road, me, skanking it. I took it up motorway, dump valve and everything. Oh, it's all right. This is a bit skanky looking, but I thought, it stinks of fuel, this guy. Absolutely stinks inside this. I got back, put it up on ramp. Fuel absolutely hammering out. All pipes were perished, you see. So all fuel feed, it was just like squirting out randomly. But it was squirting out and running down the exhaust, over down the, you know, it was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a scary situation.
Well, the guy accused me of stealing his Nissan badge. I mean, why would I said, here, take your pick. Here, there's a drawer. There's 50 badges in there. Have whatever one you want. You want a new style one? Here, that'll do. Almira. Nissan Almira. Put this Almira one on. Make it look a bit more modern, you know. I've even got one for the back match. Yeah. It's another example of customers. I'll be honest, I don't really like this industry anymore. I never liked it. Like I said, I came into it from college. I made a mistake at college. I ended up like dropping science qualification, GMVQ I was doing. I was no good at it. I couldn't be bothered with sitting in a classroom. And my mate was a mechanic, and he said, listen, he was at the same course, science. Our parents pushing us into it. Oh, you can't be a filthy mechanic. You have to be a scientist. Like, Jesus, I don't want to be a scientist. I want to fix cars. No, you don't. That's for job for idiots, eggheads, and all that business. I said, all right, no worries. I'll do science. So 6 months into it, I just basically walked out, went back in September, started picking up the spanners, and that's where I started, basically. But yeah, I've had enough of it now after 30 years. My legs are going, back's going, tired, eyes have gone. I mean, I had a press blow up in my face. I had a bearing blow up in my face in 2009, I think it was. Yeah. It's a long story. It's a long story. I didn't get any compensation. And the same company I worked for, they made me redundant the same day I come back. Yeah. Blew up in my face. Yeah, they did. Well, it was already ongoing. They didn't make me redundant the same day, but they had to. I think it was 2008 when that financial crisis happened and everyone was cutting jobs. And they had a bright idea. Yeah, it was, yeah. And they had a bright idea. Let's get rid of master techs and let's just get all these ones who aren't so smart and just, you know, get them down to Watford and get a Nissan Master Tech. And funnily enough, it was at the same time that they started dumbing down no, I wouldn't say dumbing down, but they started to make, in my opinion, becoming a Nissan Mastertech that bit easier. Like when I was in Mastertech, it was like high-tech, Nissan high-tech, so it was a bit different. It was, you had to know a lot. You had to have a guy watching while you scope. I scoped some electric window encoders up and down, and dead simple. You got 2 hall sensors, and you just get a dual channel on your scope, and you have to record them, and you have to explain why they lengthen and why they shorten according to the anti-trap function. Well, according to when I'd left, I went working on another brand. Lads who were doing it didn't have scope anything. It was just like, you know, a theory and a few practical tests, but it wasn't as hard as it was. So because of that, I think they just hired a lot of people who weren't up to the job, got rid of people like us who were earning a lot more money. And like I said, that day, press had gone up in my face, bearing. I went to hospital, and I've lost most of my sight in my right eye because of it. So it's a big thing. I've got silicon ball stitched into my eyeball and everything. But the same day, they gave me a letter saying, "Oh, you're being made redundant." So that was a really nice icing on the cake. And then after that, I just went to basically 2 more places, and that was it. I said, right, I'm going. Honestly, I made the decision to come to Finland in one day. 2 hours, I said, right, you know what? I'm a bit nervous, but I don't really care. Let's try it. I'm here 11 years later. I've done good, I've got my own place and everything. So sometimes it's worth taking a chance. Pays off. I'm lucky to be alive. I'll tell you why, because I was working on a Nissan Pathfinder, and there was a massive big dent in bonnet, and a ball bearing had gone through the windscreen, so damaged the car. But if that had gone in my head, yeah, it would have killed me. I just turned at last minute. Yeah. Someone said, "Hey, Ben," I said, "What?" And it was in press under 2 tons, this thing, and it just slipped and kicked, and it shattered the cage on this hub or whatever it was. And I just turned at last minute, and it hit me, but it hit me side on. If it had hit me face on, it would have gone through my head like a bullet. I wouldn't be here now. Would have killed me now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Scary, that, isn't it?
Yeah. I've heard stories with oil springs and presses, coil spring tools and things like that.
Hey, it happened to me that, a couple of months back. We've got an air-powered one. It's quite good, actually. But every now and then, it just don't work. It's not very tall. And I had to put one in, that old-fashioned one, and it poinged out. Boing!
Oh.
No, it's okay. It went straight up. About 8 foot in ceiling. Maybe more like 15 feet. Have you heard some bad stories then? Have you got some horror stories about that, have you?
No, I don't think so. I've heard stories, but never been there. I've never been present when it's happened. I've heard a story of where a coil spring had managed to untangle itself from the tool, and there was a huge hole in the roof afterwards.
Really?
Some of the garages, you've seen them in England where...
Asbestos roof?
Yes. And there's just, it's just a big gaping hole.
Honestly, right through the roof. Then imagine what that'd do if it hit your chin. It'd take your chin off, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, that was the first thing that I thought when I was told, is the chin. Because that's exactly how you imagine going off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, talking about that, in the 90s when I was in college, shown this video, the educational video about tyres, because what it was when I was on the course, some of them were doing heavy vehicle, HGV. They had like an old Leyland Atlantean bus engine from 1970s. It test lab, them old Pintle injector test rigs, what you used to pull with fan, that pull out vapor away, that break-off point test with that big massive gauge that was the size of an house. They had them. And so they had them lads mixed in with us, and like half the day we'd do similar theory, like electrics and all that rubbish. Lucas 12-volt systems, and then they'd go off and do the bus and truck stuff. But they all watched the same video, and it was like proper. It was American, I think, and it was like, "Stop before you inflate that truck tire. Put it in a cage. Like, this is what's going to happen to you." And it's like camera shows this like, how can I say, bloodied pile of overalls, and all you see on the roof was just a mass of like. So what had happened was it had just blown the guy up. A truck wheel had gone. A split rim, and it just literally, the guy was just, there was nothing left of him. It just vaporized this guy. Believe it or not, it can do that. A truck wheel can vaporize you. It had just pushed him on the ceiling, and his body was just a massive pulp, apparently. They didn't show everything, but it's kind of insinuated that that's what it was. But the spread on the ceiling of blood was about 4 meters long, so there was nothing left of the guy. So I got a lot of respect for tyres after that, and I'm always wary of stuff like presses and tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a dangerous game.
It can be. That's why we're better off fault finding, unless it's high voltage fault finding. That's a bit iffy, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't make the mistake of trying to take the insulation off a wire with your teeth to volts to ground.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. I'm really like. No, I'm really freaky about that. Me HV. I don't need even wear gloves if I've de-energized the system, but I don't trust it. I roll my gloves up every time. I check for pinholes. I stick them on. And even though it's a pain and it's difficult, and that's what you need, because look, let's be honest, we've not seen anything yet. In years to come, there's going to be loads of people killing themselves. Yeah, they're intrinsically safe, but if something goes wrong, it should shut down. It should release the safety contacts connecting the battery modules together. But guess what? I've seen BMWs where they don't. And there's actually a fault called contact technical support. Safety modules not disengaged. Well, you only need to get some numpty who don't know what they're doing. Oh, let's have a look, open this battery. I've not been trained, but dead. You've got no choice. You've got no chance after that. There's no choice of like, oh, maybe I can go to hospital and they give me something for it. You're dead, aren't you? Your heart stops. If you don't get resuscitated, you've gone. So that's something that worries me. Like with some of these young lads, the way they are now, is they don't mean it and they might be trying to be careful, but they don't think, There's
a difference. There's knowing and understanding it and taking the risk, and then there's not knowing and just going blindly.
Yeah, I'd never do that. It scares me. It scares me, Dan. It scares the hell out of me, high voltage. Wait till hydrogen comes along. It's like the Hindenburg disaster all over again, 1937, wasn't it? In garages all up. You won't see it coming. You literally won't see it coming. All the garages up and down the grim north, burnt to ground. Hindenburg. Right then, that's all we've got time for now, really. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I enjoyed it, Danny. I probably rattled on a bit, but that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, this is the place to do it.
It is, yeah. Right then. So until next time, everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Come on, Danny, tell them to subscribe so we can get a lot of downloads.
Yes, please subscribe to the Allmec page and Ben's YouTube channel as well. I suppose before we go, just a question: is that a Christmas jumper behind you there?
The wife starts.
Is it really?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's from Ukraine, that one. You get such good quality gear there, and it's reasonable. They measure you up and everything like they used to in the old days. Yeah, it's the wife's start. I'm a scrubber. I don't have any proper clothes. The wife's the only one with decent clothes in this house because she earns a fortune of money.
Be donated to the next Allmec with it next month. You never know.
She'd go mad at that one, she. I actually, before we go, I bought her this the other day. We'll check that out. You can put a heating pad inside it. Cost me 27 euro. It's a beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
I thought it was a nice. You've got to keep women sweet, Danny. You got to keep them sweet, aren't you?
I suppose so.
Right, everybody. I'll see you next time, and Danny will see you next time too.